Oh, it says there's a host now.
Yeah, it does. Hi, everyone. My name is Mackenzie Richardson, and I'm a current UCDC staff member and alumni of the UCDC program. Today, I'll be interviewing my friend Kirti Nuthi, who is a UCSD alumni and is currently a working professional in DC. So Kira is currently the External Relations Manager at Young Voices, which is a public relations nonprofit focused on connecting young advocates to media outlets all over the world. So with Kira today, I wanted to focus on how your DC internship helped you get to where you are today and why you think internships, even if they're remote, are important to a career. So if you just wanted to give your timeline of how you got from UCSD to where you are now.
Yeah, thanks for having me, Kenz. So I guess I started in DC. Well, story before DC starts when I was at UC San Diego. I graduated with an economics degree and a political science degree and really no clue what to do because I graduated a year early. So I did what I thought was logical and I went to grad school in London at University College London. I wanted to become a researcher, so I got a Master's of Science in International Public Policy, which is a really wonky degree. And currently to this day, don't use it, but I have it. I was graduating that program and I didn't have any prospects in London. Brexit was happening. It was a whole thing. So I decided to move home and apply for DC internships. I got really lucky. I got my break at the CATO Institute, which is a libertarian, classically liberal think tank on Massachusetts Avenue, so right in the heart of downtown DC. And I got to be an Immigration Policy Intern, which little do most people know, CATO Institute's for open borders. So I got to advocate for open borders for all for like 3.5 months, and it was really exciting. But my DC internship was way more valuable to me in the sense that I got to network, and I spent almost every evening networking and trying to figure out the next step because I was at this point, finished graduate student who needed a job and really didn't want to stay in New Jersey with her parents because my entire adult life was in California and London. So I was like, this needs to happen. I need to find a new home and I need to find it stat. So I networked my way through my DC internship, and then December 2nd of 2019, I got lucky and I got my big break. I got a job at the American Legislative Exchange Council, which is a voluntary nonpartisan association of state legislators, more colloquially known as ALEC. ALEC is a very quirky organization, and I was a development coordinator there. And at some point, I became a social media manager, which is really exciting. But I kept networking because ALEC wasn't where I wanted to be. ALEC was kind of, I got a job in DC, so I'm going to just take the job and be happy I get paid money to stay here. So I joined the Koch Associate Program about 6 months into ALEC, transferred over to Young Voices, another partner organization where I am currently. And I got to do a associate program, which is kind of like a fellowship. Some people call it a year-long internship. It pays better than an internship, so it's fine. But I got to do that for the next 10 months. And now it is May of 2020, and I will be transitioning yet again to Public Affairs Associate at NetChoice, because I spent my entirety of, a year and a half in DC now, networking my way through to figure out what I wanted to do, because at the end of graduate school, I knew what I didn't want to do, and I knew what the world didn't want me to do, and that was to be a researcher. And so I spent a year and a half figuring out, I have a policy area I like, and I have a career path I like. So public affairs and tech policy. We're going to see where that goes.
That's so awesome. I'm so happy that you've been able to like transition so much in the year and a half that you've been in DC. And sounds like you just got big break after big break thanks to all the networking you did. So obviously you've learned quite a few skills along the way. I wanted to know, what did you really take away from your internship at CATO, beyond networking that really helped get you to where you are now? And going off of that, since this internship was so important to your big break, should college students still pursue internships at this time, even if they go remote because of COVID?
Yeah, so my internship at CATO was my first desk job. I've worked in theater, I've worked as a barista, I've done so many odd jobs to pay for college. But this was my first official sit at a desk 9 to 5. This is what life is going to be like behind a desk job. So I learned a lot of skills and a lot of things about me that the workforce needs to know about you, and you need to know about you before you enter for a job. Internships were incredibly pivotal in that. So in my current work at Young Voices, I help a bunch of our contributors get internships, get career changes, and I work with them on their resumes all the time. And internships are a really good way to get your foot in the door. And they're also just job practice. It takes about a year before an employer feels comfortable with you. And like for that year, you are essentially just a random worker that is kind of losing the money, but you're gaining the skill set to be super productive. Some people don't have to do that because some people have already had work experience prior. So maybe it's not a full year for you and it's only 3 months. But until then, you're just an intern and a skills builder and a associate and a skills builder. So for me, my internship was a way to learn what I needed to pivot and shorten that time down so I could feel more useful. On top of that, my internship taught me that DC is a place where work is not always 9 to 5. This is a thing that I don't personally like. The work-life balance is a little crazy, and people transition in this town constantly. And without learning that during my internship, and without understanding that like 6 months here and 6 months there is the way a lot of resumes look around here, until you find that place you stay 2 years, 3 years, 5 years, 10. CATO is where I learned that, because when I was talking to my internship coordinators and applying for jobs and asking the scholars in the building for help, a lot of them said it was okay to just mess up and take as many internships as you can, take as many low-level jobs as you can, just get your foot in the door somewhere. And the internship was the way I got my foot in the door for the libertarian movement. And I've been in it ever since, pretty successfully. And I'm really thankful for that.
Yeah, that's awesome. And, you know, with DC being just totally crazy with the stay-at-home order, what has it been like for you trying to adjust into this new work-life balance in this COVID-19 era?
Yeah, so I work in external relations. There is no way to relate externally without social distancing right now. So I've seen a lot of Zoom calls in my life now. My job's also completely pivoted. So the end of the year, February through April, is find new hires and find internships and get everybody selected. So I personally was navigating the job market, but also I was navigating the job market like 10 times over for internships and fellowships and job changes for my contributors. And man, has COVID really messed with that. It's an interesting market where entry-level jobs are harder and harder to find. And internships are all virtual right now because no one's going to want you in the building. And how do you navigate figuring that out? And how can you reasonably give a recent graduate an opportunity, or reasonably give a person who would have interned on the Hill an opportunity when some offices aren't even taking Hill interns? So for me, life in DC has been pretty weird just because my job's been completely 180'd by COVID. But I also got really lucky. I got to hire, I think we're at 4 interns right now, aiming for a 5th. So we're really excited with that. I'm currently facilitating the hires of myself, or new me, and another position on the team. So it's been really interesting seeing how, despite all that, DC is pretty taken to virtual work, because at the end of the day, it's, as much as there are external relations managers and socializing is a really important part of this town, we as a town are learning that networking can be online. Everyone's Rolodex is wide open right now. So if I wanted to email someone that would never answer me, they've got a lot of free time. The likelihood of them answering me now is very high. But also internships and job prospects will move on. This town runs on it, and it is a virtual system. So if it's a virtual system for the next 6 months, we're all adjusting.
Yeah, and on that note, just to end, do you have any advice for college students who might be in their, junior or senior year, looking at the fall, wondering if they should be applying to remote internships right now?
I think remote internships are secret gold, in the sense of a lot of organizations here actually still do remote internships during the calendar school year, regardless of COVID. So you can stack your resume pretty quickly with internships. And also remote internships still give you a foot in the door to DC. It's less rent, so you're not paying like what's a studio around here, $1,400. You're paying $1,400 a month to live by yourself, or like $800 to live with roommates in a group house with rats. True story, did that once, never again. But you get the option of just like, you don't have to pay rent, you don't have to go through the metro system, you don't have to do all these things that are uncomfortable, but you can get your dream institution if you try hard enough. And then you can network in there, but like you can't necessarily figure it all out right now. You're not going to get the full experience regardless for, I think, the next 3 to 12 months. So it might as well just be something you make of it. And this is your best shot right now. And if it gets you a foot in the door and you have to transition 1,000 times, at least it's a foot in the door.
That was perfect. Thank you so much, Kier, for all of your insights today. I think it's super illuminating. It'll be really helpful for anyone who is looking at what the next step should be for them. Thanks.
Yeah, no worries. Thank you for having me.